Well, there has been much ado about the electronic transmission of electoral results in the Electoral Act amendment. While the experience now from the deployment of the electronic transmission of results in Edo and Delta States gubernatorial elections showed manipulation of election results in the process of collation and was eliminated, and it helped reduce greatly the use of political thugs to torpedo and manipulate election results as well. Well, this electronic transmission further served as a booster of confidence in the electorate, who trooped out to perform their civic duty by voting, believing and convinced that their votes would count. Well, joining us now to speak on this is an electoral observer at both elections, Femi Lawson. It's great to have you here on the morning show. Femi Lawson, thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. So I just want us to begin on a very general, notes, without just looking at this from any of the two sides. As an electoral observer, how important is this electronic transmission of votes? How essential is it? Is it something that you believe, based on what you have observed, is a necessity for our system right now?
In fairness, good morning once again.
Good morning.
It is one of the best things that have happened to our elections in Nigeria. Having observed elections in Nigeria for more than 10 years, I can say that what we witnessed by this initiative of the INEC under its incumbent leadership is one of the best, approaches that we have employed as a country to increase the credibility of our elections. For somebody who have monitored election in 2011, 2007, 2011, 2015, and 2019, and some of period elections, you come to agree with the fact that our decision, or the decision of INEC to improve on using the technological tools on our election is a big win for democracy. What do I mean? In this country, we have had situations whereby election, even into state constituencies, were conducted, and results are never known, sometimes until 48 hours. But what we witnessed, with the introduction of, the electronic collation of results, is the fact that it reduced a lot, of stress, not only on the electorate, on observers, and even other stakeholders, including political parties within the electoral system. And it provides more room for transparency. What do I mean? In Edo, we had a situation whereby the electorate on the spot had result of their elections, subsequently transmitted. Political parties were already doing at their own level real-time collation of results.
Yeah.
And observers were, and if you look at the tally eventually, there were little or no discrepancies in most places because of what we have all seen. And what do I mean by transparency? Results of our elections are not only known at the collation center, even by people, in the vicinities where elections are conducted. INEC opened up the portal. Every Nigerians go there, log on to the portal, and you could sit in Lagos and watch results as they are trickling in, from Edo, from Nasarawa. It was done in Nasarawa during a state constituency election. That was a test run. It was done in Edo and Ondo successfully. It's unimaginable that in 2021, some set of people still think this country is not ripe enough, for such a system. It's unimaginable.
Okay, that's a good one, but we'll come back to it. We'll go on a short break now, and then when we return, we'll take it from there. We'll be right back. All right, you're welcome back. We're still on with Mr. Femi Lawson, an electoral observer who's sharing perspective with us on the contentious electronic transmission of results, as far as the Amendment Act is concerned. And from your experience, as you were explaining to us, given the successes recorded at the Edo and Ondo election, as a confidence booster, how will election observers like yourself view what is going on now, that it looks like there's a caveat to how elections will be electronically transmitted? Does it look like we're not going to have what we experienced in Edo and Ondo moving forward, if the bill goes through?
No, we will have it.
Okay.
And I want to believe that nobody, including the National Assembly, would subjugate, the provisions of the Nigerian Constitution.
Right.
Irrespective of how powerful one or assume we are. The truth is that the Constitution, which is a grand norm, has given the power to INEC to supervise and direct elections in Nigeria.
Exactly.
INEC is not a parastatal created by the National Assembly. It's not one of those agencies like the NCC. Yeah. INEC is a creation of this Constitution, just like the National Assembly itself.
Yeah.
So I don't have any fear, and I believe INEC and other stakeholders, in the next few days, we have to approach the court to interpret these powers. Because, you see, what the National Assembly is doing, if you read this amendment, this proposed amendment very well, it's not just to tamper or impose on INEC how it should conduct the elections. In fact, the National Assembly is bringing itself in as an umpire in an election. It is going to
really?
be, yes. You know, if you read the subsection, this subsection 3,
yeah.
the INEC has brought itself, the National Assembly is bringing itself in.
And looks like it's also dragging NCC
It will fall flat before the law when we get to the court. So nobody should even be worried about this, because the National Assembly has no role to play in an election. The Constitution is very clear about it. The NCC, or whatever they call it, has no role whatever to play in an election. So we should not, I am not worried, and I know INEC should not be worried, and I know that if there are still reasons for us to be worried, the court is there for us to approach in the next few days, because what we are saying is that the Constitution has given INEC the power to supervise and direct elections. And one of those direction is how it's going to conduct the election. That's why it's an independent body. And INEC, not just about electronic collation of results. If you look at from the smart card readers and other innovations that has come from INEC, you know that we are on a part of restoring the integrity of our elections. And it is not after 6 years of using smart card reader that we should be talking about electronic collation of results.
It's even interesting because the initiatives that you have mentioned actually came from the INEC itself.
Yes.
You know, nobody imposed it on.
This is why we are not, some of us are not even worried. Because it is on record that the National Assembly or any group of politicians have never been at the vanguard of electoral reform in this country. Forget what they say when they appear on TV. There is no time. So, for people to have expected that the National Assembly was going to champion any cause of electoral integrity or electoral reform, itself, it was an illusion. We were not on that illusion. We know these are the biggest beneficiaries of electoral malpractices, and now they want to migrate from being beneficiaries of electoral malpractices to becoming electoral umpires, and we will not allow it.
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned the part of that, amended clause that includes the permission of the NCC. Assessment
of NCC, approval of National Assembly. Who does that?
When constitutionally, INEC has been conferred with the responsibility of independently handling this situation. So what you're saying...
Do you even know the contradiction? Sometimes they don't really know how observant Nigerians are. Even the NCC, that was illegally brought in to come and justify what they wanted to do, confirmed that it requires a 3G network to transmit this kind of, you understand? And the question is, even the NCC admitted that 75% of the country is already covered by 3G. That's number one. And unfortunately, the people behind this amendment did not also take their time to learn or ask INEC how it has been doing it, because even this electronic transmission, I've witnessed it. What we're talking about, electronic transmission of results, does not even have to do with whether there's network somewhere or not. In remote places in Edo, where we could not receive phone calls, what was done is that the moment you upload on your devices, the moment you move to the next kilometer where there is a mobile communication network, the thing automatically uploads and sends to the server. So what is this fear about? Is there any part of this country where you can travel 10 kilometers before accessing network? I've been to the 36 states of Nigeria. Is there any part where you can travel more than 10 kilometers before you access network?
Even NCC,
what is the fear? The fear is very simple. This initiative is going to close down the shops. The shops are the collation center. That is the black market of elections in Nigeria. And they don't want it to close down. Because that is where election results are actually manipulated, sent to the wards, transmitted to the local government and states. And so the moment you can kill that black market, election integrity will improve, and they don't want it.
But another belief is that there definitely is, apart from what you've just mentioned, the closing down of some of these polling units, there's some other parts of this that are, slightly malicious, in the sense that, first of all, when we look at the majority of the yeas, the yeses to this, a majority came from the ruling party. And then considering the move of a lot of, opposition leaders to this ruling party, some believe that it's all coming together as a calculated effort to jeopardize what democracy should be coming and looking at the 2023 elections.
Well, from my experience of Nigerian politicians, even those that say nay, who are on the other side today, if they are also in the majority, there is every tendency that they would have taken the same position. That is the truth.
That's
the truth is that from all actors within the major political parties in Nigeria today have at one time or the other been beneficiaries of electoral malpractices. So the fact, you understand, so the truth is that this is an aspiration of the Nigerian people. The sovereignty of this country belongs to the people. These people need to begin to get this clear, that it is about the people, not about those very few who are, in positions. And you see, this demand, this was not an act of charity from the National Assembly. The fact that they could even look at proposing this in the Electoral Act and, debating it and voting on it was as a result of the outcry from stakeholders within the electoral chain, the INEC, civil society, even the international communities, on the need to improve on the credibility of our elections. So it is not that the National Assembly even woke up in the first place and proposed this amendment. It was like, let us give them what they are making noise about. But they now went beyond what ordinarily is their power, to begin to come in as an umpire in our elections. It's very unfair.
If we do not trust the lawmakers because of the benefits that they tend to derive, how much of trust can we, expect from the president? Because this will ultimately go to him, and this is a man who campaigned on the strength of electoral reforms. Yes, we know that in 2018, the bill, as it then went there, it was returned because they felt that it was close to the elections. Now that there is ample time for him to do the needful, and it's not returning anyway, should we be hopeful at all that, from the desk of the president, something good can come out?
I do hope that the president will once again demonstrate his commitment to credible elections in Nigeria. It's just a hope. But my ultimate aspiration or expectation is for Nigerians to continue to demand for electoral integrity. No president, governor, or whosoever will willfully give this, because at one time or the other, they have benefited from this election malpractices and whatever. It is good that under President Buhari's administration, we are beginning to see things like Electoral Commission, Electoral Offences Commission. We are beginning to see moves, to improve on the credibility of our elections through this series of amendments. But the truth is that I don't think it is the job of politicians, and I don't expect the president to do anything different from what especially majority of actors within his political party have done in the National Assembly. It would be an illusion for you to think those people just rose and in unison voted against that move, which of course I think was not even their business in the first place. But we as Nigerians have the responsibility to demand for credible elections. No political class will give you credible elections. Even in the best of democracies, we have seen how election results are being faulted.
That's right.
So it is the duty of the citizens, and that is what we must continue to emphasize on, not any expectation from the political class.
Now, another controversial part of this amendment was the limit of election spending that was incredibly skyrocketed. Now, let's take it to the lowest class, which will be the, Senate Assembly candidates that are now going from a 10 million naira budget to 30 million. Let's not even look at, the presidency, that is, let's not look at the governorship. We all understand that the increase was significant. How does this create a level playing field for the youths who want to participate in these electoral processes? Unlike 10 million to 30 million, that is an increase of 20 million. That is incredibly significant. And then looking at the state of things in Nigeria, looking at the standard of living, if you consider the 30-year-olds, the 30 to 40-year-olds, and the average standard of living of these people, is it realistic that they will be able to afford to vie for some of these positions?
See, Of course, elections are capital intensive, not only in Nigeria, even in other parts of the world. People spend a lot of money. But like I keep saying, the realities of what our elections have become today is why we are beginning to see the introduction of this, level of fee, as minimum. Those are minimum spendings. Yeah. You understand? That's why they have just come to present it like that. You should not exceed.
It's a cap.
You understand?
On what you can spend.
And it's in their conscience is the minimum because, when a democracy has become, a cash and carry democracy, highest bidder, vote buying, and rather than focusing on, because nobody will be penalized on this. Because the truth is that where is the auditing system for election spending? Who audits what political parties spend on elections today in Nigeria? Nobody does. So it is not enough to just put all these clauses and aspirations in our Electoral Act. What we must begin to do is acting, not even preaching, on actions that have to be taken to minimize vote buying and all sort of actions that have increased spending on our elections. If we don't do all that, it is not enough. It's very easy for you to say a candidate or a political party should not spend beyond this, but they could do that through their proxies and spend even outrageously on elections because it's the culture of vote buying and, So I think we must look at how we can promote integrity of our election to the extent that money becomes useless. So the extent that people, without being given money, can have the right to choose who they want without any interference from politicians, you understand this? So if we promote the integrity of our life, and I know that going to the booth to vote, my candidate of choice emerges, the truth is that I'll be more interested in that than a 3,000 naira or a cup of rice that would not last the next few days for my 4 years. So we must do more in promoting the integrity of our elections and ensure that Nigerians have the right to choose candidates of their choices and their vote counts. When our vote counts, we will be less concerned about how much you spend on your elections because whether our candidates spend money or not, it will emerge. Whether their candidates spend billions or not, it may lose. When we get to that point, nobody will be talking about, be so much interested in about this, cap on election spending in Nigeria.
In 30 seconds, Mr. Lawson, because we're out of time, what is your biggest fear for 2023, general elections? In 30 seconds.
My biggest fear now, which some of us are willing to challenge, is the attempt to hijack the power of INEC to conduct elections in Nigeria. By the step taken by the National Assembly, in trying to become an umpire in the electoral system, it is a major issue. It may get to a point that if care is not taken, the National Assembly may have to tell INEC where to conduct election or not, if we allow this, and we will not allow it.